Hey there film fans, and welcome to Craig's Film Reviews. It's a channel of film reviews, short films and funny little drawings by me, Craig. That's me, there with the beard. So, let's review some films. Hey film fans, you're watching Craig's Film Reviews. I'm Craig. Sans beard this time. It's been a while since I've been in the flesh for you. Mainly I was doing voiceover videos, but here I am back again. Hopefully my face doesn't spoil the enjoyment of the video for you too much, but today I want to talk about a film that when it first came out, didn't get a lot of love. Still kind of despised by a lot of fans of a certain series that we're going to talk about today. But for me, it's one of my personal favourite movies. I think it's severely underrated, and that is Alien 3. So Alien 3, I'm not going to go in too much detail into the troubled production of the movie. Obviously follows on, it's the third movie of the Alien saga, following on from Alien in 1979, directed by Ridley Scott, which is probably one of the greatest movies ever made, in my opinion. It's technically a marvel in terms of its visual style, a real game changer in terms of the of special effects and the vision of a used future. The depiction of the alien, designed by H.R. Giger, changed alien designs forever, and just as a thematic level, a technical level, and as a pure entertainment, Alien is one of the greatest movies ever made. Followed by, in 1986, by James Cameron's sequel, Aliens, which was an action movie more than anything, a brilliant action movie by the master of blockbuster filmmaking, James Cameron. Very huge hits, both of them, critical successes. Aliens even got an Oscar nomination for its star, Sigourney Weaver, who plays Ripley, the central character in all of the Alien movies, the first four anyway. The series follows her. So Alien 3 had a very troubled production. I don't really want to go into that too much because you can read my article on my blog, which I wrote about that, and you can also see an excellent documentary on the Alien anthology Blu-ray set that really goes into a lot of detail about all the things that kind of went wrong. Lots of different concepts were considered. Lots of different directors came in and out. Different screenplays were written. The film making itself, once David Fincher, the director, was chosen, his first movie, he was a music video director, made some excellent music videos. Madonna's Express Yourself and Vogue videos were one of his most famous ones. He also made music videos for Michael Jackson, the Rolling Stones, and he also was a director of commercials for companies like Coca-Cola. He and Nike, and then this was his first movie, and it was a very difficult production for him. He wasn't given a lot of help or given a lot of support from the studio. They basically undermined him at every turn. Budget issues, just technical challenges, and the film went over budget and blah blah blah. I said I wasn't going to go into it. I won't. You can read all about that. So when the film came out, it was kind of universally despised by critics who felt the film was too bleak, depressing. After the highs and the excitement of Aliens, this one was a dour, nihilistic, bleak end to the trilogy that destroyed everything that the previous movies had built up to. That's one take on it. I have a completely different take on that one. I think basically for me, the reason why I love it so much is it does what the most fascinating thing about each Alien movie is that they have this essentially the same plot. Alien, malevolent life force, is taking out people one by one. Ripley's the only survivor and has to defeat the alien. That's basically the same movies. The first four ones are exactly basically the same. But they have a different director each time and a different behind the scenes crew. So they bring a totally different vibe, a totally different filmmaking style and aesthetic to each movie. Ridley Scott is a tremendous visual director. Alien is one of the most, like I've said before, visually stunning movies you're going to see. It also has his kind of weird outlook on life. He's got a kind of a more bleaker, cynical look on life. Cameron's is the opposite. Cameron's got a very positive view on the world. His films was all about healing, and the alien in Aliens, Ripley gets the chance to start again, have a potential new family when she finds the survivor of the Newt when they rescue her, and you've seen the movies, and I hope anyway. And so in Alien 3, I think a lot of fans and critics were expecting more of the same, more of the aliens, but they made the brave decision to completely back, well, not completely back, but to go with David Fincher's worldview, which, as we've seen in the movies he's made since, Fight Club, Seven, Social Network, he's got quite a bleak, cynical view on the world, and allied that with his own visual style, which is very composed, very stylized look on visuals, and he brought that, all of that is in Alien 3. Over the years, the film has started to, especially since, again, I'll whip this out, the assembly cut, which was on the Alien Anthology DVD, available in all good DVD stores, or whatever they buy them on now, online, probably. So the critical thinking about the movies kind of changed in the last few years. A lot of film critics online and fans are starting to warm up it. I think time's a great healer. So when the film came out, people were expecting aliens again. When they realised that, one, there was no action really in this film, really. There's no guns. These were all apparently directives from Sigourney Weaver herself, who's an anti-gun campaigner. Didn't want guns. Ripley dies. Ripley's got an alien inside of her. All the survivors of the aliens that the fans kind of assumed would carry on with her, and the theme of that movie was kind of that she found a new family for herself and a kind of a possibility of a new future. Dead in the credits, credit death. That's it. It blew everyone's minds. No one liked it. It felt like some viewers have said that it's almost like an up yours to any fans of the previous series. I kind of like that about it. I kind of dig the fact that it's that kind of bold, that it's going to say, like, forget those movies, we're going to do our own thing, and also kind of interrogate the themes of the film before. Aliens did that. James Cameron said himself he wanted to kind of heal the wounds of the first movie for Ripley, and so in this one, David Fincher wanted to actually say, hang on, you know what? No, the world doesn't have a happy ending. You can't overcome the dark side of life. So if you think about it this way, the first movie, Alien, was about man's the kind of biological almost nightmare of reproductive. There's all that stuff about the Freudian sexual. I mean, basically, it's about a man gets raped, he gives birth, a male birth, and then turns into a big giant penis monster with a penis head and a penis that comes out, and it kills all the men. Every man tries to be physically heroic, gets killed. Then Aliens, kind of, James Cameron's a little coy, I think, and he kind of went away from that. And Alien 1 is also about that kind of man's humanity's kind of insignificance in the indifference of the universe. That we try to, like, they go out into outer space and they meet this creature and they don't understand it, and it just wipes them out, and it doesn't really. There's no reason why. There's no rhyme or reason, no meaning to it. And then Aliens try to attach some sort of meaning to it, that Ripley could go back there, destroy the aliens, rescue children, Newt, become a mother again, and heal her psychological wounds from the first movie. Whereas Alien 3 kind of goes back to the original themes, connects with that a bit more about, no, unfortunately, the world's a dark, cruel place, and you can't always get over stuff like that. Things don't always work out. Maybe this is me being very bleak, sorry guys, but there's that idea that Raymond Briggs said, every movie or story with a happy ending is just one that hasn't quite finished yet. So it makes sense. The third movie is going to be Ripley's death. So in this one, the themes are that she's actually, the story is that she's been impregnated by the alien, so now she's physically fused with the alien itself. It kind of makes sense to me about getting rid of, a lot of people didn't like the fact that they killed off Newt and Hicks and all the supporting characters from the Aliens movies. it kind of makes a lot of sense to me. One, Newt is a kid played by an actress who's not very good in Aliens. 6 years later, they're going to make Alien 3, so they can't use the same actress because she's too old. You can't. So you recast her, so it's not going to. So you're going to have to. The whole point is meant to be it follows immediately after Alien, so she's going to have to be. You're going to have to pick another young kid to play her. So there'll be a different actress. Hicks, yeah, I mean he's an interesting character. Not really. Actually, let me change it. He's a nice guy and he's a great kind of character in Aliens, but is he that interesting that he has to share the screen with Ripley, who's a pretty fascinating character? Also, I got a feeling on the DVD the way that Sigourney Weaver's saying that she thinks that Ripley's kind of a loner, that she doesn't want a team with her. So maybe there was a bit of that Sigourney Weaver was now the producer and didn't really want to be sharing her screen credit with Michael Biehn or anyone else and wanted to be the star. Makes sense. And also it just also ties in with the theme of that kind of existentialism, that kind of, hey, you can try your best but the alien, the world will get you. Any chance of happiness will be extinguished. Now that makes the film seem like it's unduly bleak, and it is. It's a film about Ripley crash landing on a planet full of rapists, paedophiles, murderers, and teaming up with them and trying to find some kind of sympathy with those people. So it's not the wham bam action thing that you're going to get for most blockbuster movies, and I think that's part of it. It's so unlike what a Hollywood movie would make, and that's kind of why I love it. It's dark, it's depressing. Is it depressing? I think, especially with the theatrical cut, is kind of doesn't have many redeeming features for the characters and no kind of redemption. In the assembly cut, which I have to address, is not a director's cut. David Fincher was not involved in the edit on the DVD because he has nothing to do with the movie. Doesn't want anything to do with it. He says, I can't do a director's cut because I was never allowed to film what I wanted to film in the first place. So how can it be a director's cut? So it's called the assembly cut, which was supervised by Terry Rawlins, who was the editor on the first Alien movie and Alien 3, and he edited this new version. Reinstating some missing subplots that were in the theatrical version, another extra half-hour scenes, which gives a lot more depth to the prisoner characters and what their whole world and their whole religious kind of thing that's going on with them. They're like spiritually reborn. They kind of made their own kind of religion to kind of make sense of their pretty bleak world, because they've been cast aside by society. They're trying to find some kind of redemption, some kind of healing, and Ripley comes into this world, and maybe she wants a bit of healing, a bit of redemption as well. There's a great scene where she meets Dylan, who's kind of the spiritual leader of the prisoners, kind of like a preacher, and he says to her, "You got any faith, sister?" And she's like, "Not much." She wouldn't. She's a very practical, pragmatic person who's had nothing but death since the movie for the last few movies in her life, and that's what I kind of like about this movie as well. That she's going to have Ripley, the character, I think is the best depiction of the character in all the four movies. Alien Resurrection, I don't really like it that much, and Sigourney Weaver's performance is it's her best performance out of all of them, even better than she was nominated for the Oscar for Aliens, even better than in this. This one, her performance is real. It feels more kind of lived in. It feels more kind of naturalistic. And this depiction of Ripley as this kind of older woman, like I said, she's in her 40s now. Everyone she knows is dead and been killed by this alien. Every time she thinks she's going to get away, she goes into hypersleep, wakes up again, the alien's back. And of course that's going to be the franchise from now on. That's her curse, almost. If she was a real person, that's her curse, that she's got to constantly fight the alien. And there's a great scene where she comes face to face with the alien and says, "You've been in my life for so long, I don't remember anything else." Her life is just the alien now. So that's why she's kind of so beaten down and wants to... And then now she's got the alien inside of her. She's impregnated. She's been raped kind of by the alien, and now she's got the alien queen inside of her. Her only power in this bleak world where the corporations, like the company, which is the corporation that runs everything, this evil, greedy corporation that runs everything. The world's, there's no religion really, everything's been destroyed, no society. The only thing she can do is kill herself, free herself from the curse, and destroy the alien once and for all, save the universe, even if they don't care. See, a lot of people think this movie is nihilistic. So for me, nihilism means that nothing means anything. That there's no point to life. And it kind of, yeah, okay, it does mean that. And there is a bit of that in Alien 3. But I think the idea is supposed to be that when nothing matters, when there's no hope, when you're cast aside from society, you're the outsider, people, like she says, people think we're crud. And that's what she says to the prisoners when she's getting them to help them. That the corporations, the military, those kind of people, those big structures, they don't care about you. The mainstream society have cast you out. There's no God, there's no meaning. What do you fight for? What do you do? Do you still do the right thing? Do you just say it doesn't matter anymore? Who cares? And that's what the reinstated scenes. There's some really great scenes between her and Dylan where she's convincing the prisoners, look, yeah, no, life means nothing and your life is over, but you can do something with it. And the only thing they can do is kind of sacrifice themselves to save the universe. Even though the universe will never know, will never care, they still save the universe at the end and redeem themselves. And I think that's a pretty powerful message, more than so than any other movies. And there's this idea that in the other movies, the characters in Alien and Aliens, these guys were trapped on the planet with the aliens. They had no choice but to fight to survive. In Alien 3, they're given this choice. Constantly, the characters are given this choice that they could just wait it out. There's a rescue team on the way. They're going to take the alien away for their experiments and use it as a weapon. They can just sit it out if they want to. Ripley gets the chance. They offer her at the end the chance to have the alien taken out of her. She can live. She can be free from the alien, although she knows that they'll use it and it will never be free. So they get a choice. They could wait it out. They could just join forces with the corporation and let it go. But they decide, no, we're going to fight it. We're going to die fighting it. And I think that's a kind of much more powerful, kind of haunting idea that is new in this version of the Alien series. The American film critic, Roger Ebert, when the film came out, said that it was the best looking bad movie he'd ever seen. Obviously, I don't agree with the bad movie part. I think it's a great movie, but visually, it's stunning. Almost on the par with Ridley Scott's work in the first movie. Fincher started off as an effects cameraman. He honed his visual style working on commercials and music videos, and the film looks amazing. Just in terms of it's got this... the lighting is much more moody and atmospheric than any other movies. It's got this very kind of high stylized look. The compositions, he's got a very like almost Kubrickian sense of camera work and framing. And there's this one. There's a lot of shots shot from below, so it's all like looking up from below and looking up at the top of them. So we're seeing a lot of ceilings. So for a couple of reasons. I think there's the thematic idea of like looking up to the heavens. There's also the idea of this alien can run and run up on ceilings and up walls. So it's almost like we're all constantly seeing the ceilings and the gaps and the air vents up there. So the alien could be dropping down at any moment on there. I think that adds to the tension. It's just there's a lot of stuff with silhouettes and just kind of these very kind of almost like pop promo, very imagery. Kind of very stylized, almost like comic book imagery to tell the story, and I think for me it's the best directed, best looking movie. Finch has also got his own particular style of doing lots of takes, 20, 30 takes. It's not unusual for him of each shot, each scene, until it gets it absolutely perfect. So there's a precision to the filmmaking that's missing from some of the other ones. Well, not missing, but I mean better than most other blockbuster movies, and just the acting as well. Like I said before, I think Sigourney Weaver's her best performance. Fincher apparently made them likes to do scenes over and over and over again till they're a little bit like Kubrick would, because it would after the first few scenes, they're kind of repeating their lines, and if they're very kind of theatrical, this time after like 10 takes, they've started to become more naturalistic. So there is a more naturalistic vibe to the acting that I think is than any other, more so in the Alien movie, and the dialogue. I think the script is great. Charles Dance, any movie with Charles Dance in is much improved in my opinion. Charles Dance, I think, is one of the great British actors. Real great presence. It's such a shock when he gets killed off about halfway through the movie. Even before then, he has that great monologue moment where he talks about his tragic backstory and then dead, which again is what is going on in these kind of themes of these kind of bleaker ideas of in the normal movie, this kind of almost subversion. In a normal movie, Charles Dance's character would say his emotional monologue about how he was a doctor, got drunk, accidentally gave the wrong painkiller to people and killed 11 people, and that's why he's on the prison planet, and he's trying to find some kind of redemption, some kind of emotional connection with Ripley, and he's dead in the next scene. Usually in most movies he'd get a chance to redeem himself and become part of the crew, help Ripley, but in this movie any kind of chance of happiness or hope is gone. I love the dialogue in this movie. I like the way it's kind of a bit more stripped down and a bit more almost like, in a way, theatrical, I suppose. I mean it just means it feels a bit more kind of poetic, some of the dialogue in this movie compared to some of the other ones, which was a bit more improvised. Alien had a bit more of an improvised feel to it, the dialogue. Aliens has got Cameron's unique. I mean, I don't want to get negative on Aliens because it was a great film, a great, brilliant action film, and it used to be my favourite film when I was a teenager growing up, like a young kid watching it. But then, hey, life flattens you, and you realise that it's like, there's not all going to end up with a happy ending. Maybe being like Space Marines and all that stuff and shooting the aliens, pew 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 pew, is a bit immature. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the thing, but that's why Alien 3 feels a bit more like a sober, more adult, more human film than Aliens. Maybe there's problems with it. I'm not going to lie and say that there's no problems with Alien 3. It's a flawed movie, as good as I think it is, and how much I love it, and even love it for its imperfections, like you should with love. It's especially in the assembly cut, it's slow because it takes a long time to get going, but so does Aliens as well. It takes a long time to get going. The plot's a bit haphazard in the terms of the pacing. It starts off quite slow and meditative, and it takes a while for things like the plot to get going, and then suddenly we're racing around in all these lots of chase scenes and stuff, and maybe it could have been a bit better paced over the entire runtime rather than all crammed into the end of all the rice running around. So the pacing's a bit haphazard, a bit erratic. The prisoners don't quite get as much attention as some of the other supporting characters in the other movies. There's that great visual idea that Fincher had for them all to be bald and all have their head shaved, including Ripley herself, including Sigourney Weaver. What a striking look for your big star, a female star to do that for. What a brilliant visual idea. But the downside of that is that they all kind of, it's hard to tell them apart. They're all wearing the same clothes, they've all got the same kind of accents. They're all similar kind of vibes with their characters. It becomes a bit difficult, especially at the end when they're all running and screaming and it's all kind of chaotic with the aliens kind of chase them. You're like, which one's dead? Some of them seem to just disappear from the cut and you just assume they've been killed. That's a flaw. Could have been easily fixed by other people have said this, that like just giving them different costumes, different hairstyles, different look, something like that. Just so you can say, oh, that's the guy in this cat. That's the guy that wears sunglasses. I know it sounds stupid, but that could be that could have been something that could just differentiate the characters a little bit more. The effects have dated badly, more so than any other movies. The practical effects are amazing. There's that amazing shot, that two shot of the alien's head. You know the one I mean. That has kind of become synonymous with the series now, where the alien comes right up to Ripley's face, and its head, its glistening head's almost touching her face like that. Really creepy, powerful image. That's great. All the practical effects, the costumes, the special effects, the gore effects, they're great. unfortunately they couldn't. This is pre-CG, so a lot of people think it's bad CGI. It's not. They didn't quite have the effect. The CGI wasn't advanced enough to run an alien. So the alien now was done with a rod puppet against a blue screen, and they didn't get the compositing right and the dimensions of it right in the scene. So it never blend. The lighting's off, so it never quite matches with the action that's going on in with the live action footage. It never kind of gels. So that's a big issue, I suppose. But who cares? In some ways, the rest of it is technically brilliant. The emotional story comes through, I think, well, and I kind of like the fact that the films aren't quite perfect. It's give a bit of flaws, gives it a bit of character. Otherwise, you just get this kind of cookie cutter idea. This cookie cutter kind of like blockbuster franchise filmmaking. Not mentioning any names. Another thing I really love about Alien 3 is that anti-corporate themes that kind of spilled over from the other movies, but it was really expanded upon here about the fact that the real villain in these movies is not just the alien and what it represents. It means that it's the greedy corporation, the company that's coming to that just. She says there's a great speech with Ripley when she says first time we saw the alien, crew expendable. Then they sent the Marines, they were expendable too. And she says, what do you think they're going to care about some lifers, us, like they think we're crud. So that's the point. Their lives mean nothing to this greedy corporation. These kind of the military and that getting into bed with these money grabbing kind of oil tycoons, which I assume is kind of what's going on with the company. And Ripley's always been just a cog in a wheel, but she can fight them. And when Ripley has a choice between siding with the corporations, those big, that kind of industrial complex, or rapists and murderers, she's going to stick with the rapists and murderers. She'd rather align herself with those. At least she can trust them. And that's kind of again, this is why I love this movie. Such subversive ideas, such like twists on the cliche. Again, it's a difficult idea, and a lot of fans on the movie are saying, how can they ask us to try and sympathise with rapists and murderers? Exactly, I don't know, really. But the idea is meant to be that they're kind of born again. They're trying to be better. They're trying to make some sense of their worlds in a thing in the world, and especially in Assembly Cut, there's a few scenes where the characters do kind of redeem themselves. One character that tries to rape Ripley earlier sees Ripley helping the men that tried to rape her. He has some kind of epiphany and ends up sacrificing himself to the alien to save the others. So there's this idea that Ripley's goodness is rubbing off on these prisoners, and that's a great thing I love about the character of Ripley. And Sigourney Weaver said before that she's kind of an ordinary person. She's not a superhero. She's not an action hero. She's just she's an ordinary woman in this cruel world, a cog in the wheel. In the first Alien movie, she was part of the company. She was like a true believer. Then she realised that they weren't to be trusted. Her cynicism kind of grew, and in Alien 3, she's now like, well, I'm going to fight you. I'm against you. And there's this kind of strength and this unshakable moral core to her, this kind of moral force to her. That's why she's one of the greatest characters in sci-fi history, at least in any movie history. I think she's one of the most, and Sigourney Weaver is brilliant in the role. So overall, I think Alien 3 really deserves more love. It's starting to get a comeback now. A lot of people, Matt Zoller-Zeiss, there's a great video on the Long Take YouTube channel. They did a great video about the whole 3 Alien movies. Really interesting and fascinating ideas there about the themes that run throughout the series. But I suppose you could call Alien 3 the only $50 million art movie. It's made by a Hollywood studio. They kind of let a director off who they didn't quite understand. They thought he was just going to he was a pop promo director, going to just shoot cool visuals and action and let him off the leash. But he's not much more ambitious, as we've seen in the 3 films he's made since. He's a much more ambitious filmmaker than that, and he made something close to art, although he didn't quite get there. a man's reach had exceeded his grasp, or what's a heaven for? He didn't quite get where he wanted to go, but at least he went for it and got pretty close. If you go shoot for the moon, what's all this platitudes? This isn't what I'm all about, is it? But an Alien 3 fan wouldn't like that. But David Fincher wouldn't like that either. But I think he was trying for something a bit more ambitious and nearly got there, and made within the sci-fi horror genre, in a big blockbuster movie, made something that's akin to an art film, a European art film, and I dig that about the film. It's beautiful to look at, powerful themes, brilliant acting, a real emotional, especially in the assembly cut, it's got a real emotional impact, and it's a very haunting movie.